So, generally speaking, I think that 40k games have a pretty bad reputation, a pretty troubled life. A lot of them suffer from lack of support, expensive DLCs, or just being generally pretty bad. But I really think that one game has started to curb this trend, and with the release of Dawn of War 4 and Total War Warhammer just around the corner, I really want to ask... For those of you who somehow don't know what this is, but still clicked on the video, Darktide is a horde shooter, understandably set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. You play as one of 6 including DLC, so-called rejects, criminals in the eyes of the Imperium of Man. You find yourself aboard the Morningstar frigate in the orbit of the imperial planet of Atoma Prime. Here on Atoma exists the hive city of Tertium. Hive cities in this universe are multi-layered super-cities which extend their spires into the atmosphere and burrow their way deep under the planet's surface. While hive cities are always ridden with crime, gangs, and greed and corruption, Tertium is falling to a force which goes by the name of Chaos. So, in the world of Warhammer 40,000, hell is real. Hell is also a sea and in space. But what's important is in hell there are 4 gods. Khorne, the god of war and violence, Tzeentch, the god of change, Slaanesh, the god of excess, and Nurgle, the god of death and disease. So these 4 powers are called the Chaos Gods, and their followers, Chaos Cultists. Deep in the bowels of Tertium, followers of the Chaos God Nurgle have begun to stir. You, expendable as you are given the opportunity, or more so the order, to prove your worth. Go down to the surface and rip out the infested hordes. And hordes they are. I'm talking thousands of these guys. Hundreds of thousands of these guys just dying to give you a good welcoming party. They're just so excited for you to be here. So within the game, there are 4 main classes. The Veteran, the Zealot, Psyker, and Ogryn. DLC classes are the RBTs and the Hive Scum, which just came out. But I don't have either of those, so we're going to sort of brush over those very quickly. The veteran is your generic shooting character. They're focused on laying down fire, high DPS. A lot of their abilities, I mean, with each of these characters, you have different skill trees and you can build them in different ways. A lot of the veterans' abilities are focused on, one is mainly support and crowd control. Another one is more like infiltration and sort of sneaky burst damage, and the other one is more ranged or charged attacks. The veteran's super fun. I've been playing a lot of the vet recently, and some of the personality bits, like the voice lines, are also pretty cool. The Zealot is your more glass cannon kind of character. Warhammer, they revere the old Emperor of Mankind as a god. Against his will, he didn't want that, but it's far too big to get into now. They're a religious zealot, and they believe that through doing these acts and praying and lighting candles and burning incense, they become closer to him and closer to some kind of salvation. That's the flavor. In-game, the Zealot is like your hybrid melee and shooting focused character. They're a lot more melee focused than the Veteran, and really can do some insane numbers. They're kind of like, like your main DPS or carry character. They've got a lot of versatility in their build and get some really fun, like, class-specific weapons. I like to play them as if they're a member of the Adeptus Sororitas, as if they're one of the Battle Sisters. You know, give them like the white hair, stick a flamer on there, and just listen to my character go absolutely nuts talking about Holy Flame and the God Emperor. They're super fun to play and really popular, actually. I see a lot of these zealots running around. The Psyker is your generic mage character. So Psykers in Warhammer are essentially humans that have unlocked some kind of psychic ability. You have various different spells that can be used for horde clear, special damage, or crowd control, or even like assist spells. I don't see a ton of Psyker players. I think it's a kind of playstyle that sits with some people very well and is very unattractive to others. It's got a really high skill ceiling, and I've played with some Psykers where, like, literally they're just killing everything in like 2 hits. It's insane. The Ogryn is like your main tank character. They're able to literally plow through hordes of enemies and knock them on the ground. They have access to all
specific weapons that only the Ogryn can use because they're so abhorrently huge that the other guns would merely like crushed by their colossal hands. A good Ogryn will carry your team like nothing else. Okay, so that's the setup, but really, is the game good? Yeah, the game's good. Why do you think I'm making the video? The music, the art direction, the side characters, everything, I feel like it pulls off the Warhammer like aesthetic, the Warhammer feel so well. Because you're playing as kind of like a normal person, it stops you from falling into some of the issues that would happen, mainly balancing issues. If you try to be like a Space Marine, or if you try to be like a Custodes or something like this, people already have such a strong idea of how these people should be behaving that I think Fatshark made a great choice in sticking with essentially your average human, apart from Ogryns, because they're app human, but whatever. The music is great, the art direction really nails the feel of it, like every single room should feel like a church or a factory or both. Essentially every level feels like that in the best way. But most importantly, the gameplay just feels so tight. There's a lot of similarities here to different horde shooters like Left 4 Dead 2 or even like classic Call of Duty Zombies, but they've really managed to enhance that gameplay to like the nth degree. Some of it's these RPG elements and how these enhance or change your gameplay. Like I mentioned earlier on, these skill tree pillars really force you to change how you play the game. Your abilities and the way you build your character is so important to your ability to clear more difficult levels, or so important to your ability to deal with a specific kind of problem, that it feels impactful. And I don't know why more games don't do this, but Fatshark, it was such a good choice to make respecking your skill tree so easy and it doesn't cost anything. So if one game, as the veteran, you want to run your typical frag grenade, you can. If in the next game you want to change it to a smoke grenade, that's also okay. Like, it doesn't lock you into any specific path, which is really good because it keeps the gameplay loop addictive and satisfying. It keeps you wanting to try different things out, see what is the best, which one you like the most. And that gameplay loop becomes so addictive. Being able to unlock higher difficulties and getting better loot and rewards for completing those missions is a really good way to keep your players coming back.
Did you know that 94.6% of you are not subscribed? If any of you want to change that, it's really easy. Just saying. Anyway, let's carry on.
Some of the levels do start to feel a bit repetitive, but then I just increase the difficulty, because then you come against different kinds of special enemies, and you come against more difficult hordes to manage. And I think that, while being a simple change, combined with how freely you can build your characters and how the different weapons feel in the game, keeps it fresh and keeps it addictive and satisfying to clear these levels, making enemies difficult to deal with but still easy enough to kill where you don't feel weak. I don't feel like I'm absolutely overpowered and I'm destroying these and I'm clearing these levels with no difficulty at all, but at the same time it's just about easy enough where I don't feel like I'm struggling. So I feel like I'm good at the game. I'm not, but I feel like I am. It makes you feel like you're getting better and it makes you feel strong while you're playing the game, so it makes me want to keep on playing it. There's also this dodge system which I really love. You can essentially dodge and weave around enemy attacks, which again, it just adds another level of depth to the gameplay, but also just another way of making you feel cool. I don't want to go over every single different enemy type, as I went into the game kind of blind. Seriously, my first reaction to having to fight a Plague Ogryn, or when I got absolutely thrown off the map by a Poxburster, was worth not knowing what was going on. But I just want to mention that there's some specific enemies in the game that really force you to adapt to their presence, which I think it's just a really good thing to do. This isn't the first time this has happened. It happens in a lot of games like this. Even, the enemy abilities force you to tackle different problems in a different way. There's this one character called a Trapper, which if you've played the game you'll know is so annoying. They don't really even hit you, they just fire a net at you and keep you on the ground, and someone needs to come take the net off of you. What I like in this game is that you can build your character to deal with that specific problem, if that's something you're having an issue with. And if you do die in this game, you're not out for the rest of the round. You essentially get captured by the cultists and put a little bit further down the level, and then your team can come and your team can come and save you. The biggest thing that I think really enhances the gameplay are the weapons. They feel not only believable in the setting, but they really change the way you play. I've not picked up a different primary gun and not had to change the way I'm playing. So when I first started playing the veteran, for instance, I was just using the normal infantry lasgun, semi-automatic, and can really deal with hordes quite well. Well, then I decided to try out the Hellbore lasgun, which is more like the sniper version, and that has like a charge, and it can really deal with these specials really well. It can one-shot trappers, for instance, but it's so much more difficult to deal with hordes. So then I had to change the way I was playing to be much more further back, or to be more melee focused when there was a lot of enemies, and when we needed to take out someone specific, then I could use the lasgun a bit easier. The trade-off for a lot of players has been, oh, like, it's a good game, but the balance isn't great, or it's a good game, but there's not so much to do. And I think actually in the past 3 years, what they've managed to do is create the kind of game they should have had in release. So 2026 is a great time to get into it. So, overall, do I think Darktide is good in 2026? Do I think it's good for beginners in 2026? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's on sale most of the year at this point, and I would say that for any general fan of 40k, or if you're just getting into the hobby, or even if you just like horde shooters, Darktide is now 3 years after release the game it should have been on launch. It's full of content. It's got such satisfying gameplay. It's got really tight gunplay. It's got really in-depth melee combat and different kind of build crafting. It's just become my go-to game where I just want to relax and have fun. Like, I'm absolutely bopping my head to the soundtrack the whole time. To be honest with you, it's probably my favorite 40k game right now. Admittedly, I haven't played Space Marine 2, so the competition isn't that hard, but I really love the power fantasy of this one. I love how you're just a normal guy and all of those things. I'm Hormagaunt 1, and yeah, I would say really try out Darktide. Thanks for sticking to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys again soon.